Wait, how do you know how many like grapes there are if you don't have the full number they give you?
Set up the proportions, then isolate grapes.
Alright.
Try to do that. Try to set up the proportion and isolate.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's not make noise. Let's not make noise. It's not respectful to everyone else who's still working on it. Okay, let's review these together here. Let's go to number 10. Let's hear from Adam. You want to tell us what you did for number 10? Are you ready? You got 5. Tell us how you did it. There's a faster way of doing this. Who knows the formula for speed, distance, and time?
No, I do.
Speed, distance, and time. I'm going to talk about this rather than just ask anybody to answer this. What does 45 represent?
How fast you can go per hour. Like how many miles you can do per
It
hour.
represents speed.
Oh.
Okay? So 45 miles per hour equals S. Okay? What is 225?
My distance.
Distance. Thank you, Kai. So 225 miles equals distance. Who knows the formula here for speed, distance, and time? Andrew? Who knows the formula? Azalea? Yes. Equals?
That's just time.
Correct. So this is, so now just divide 225 by 45. The reason why I'm spending energy on this, I could have just said, yeah, Adam, you're right, thank you. The reason is because instead of people doing this problem and wondering, what do I do with these numbers? There's a formula for you, okay? And this formula can be rearranged multiple times so that you can do other things. So if you want a distance, that's speed times time. If you want the speed, that's distance divided by time, okay? So this is, the reason why is I'm trying to show you guys methods that you can use rather than like, yeah, I can't see this, I'm gonna figure it out, you know, and figure it out organically. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to have a method in place, okay? Let's go to 11, Andrew.
I got 36.
And then tell us how you got 36 from
They already wrote down like proportions. It's very small. It's apples to oranges, or 2/12 equals cherries over grapes 6/x, because you don't know what it is, so you put it as a variable.
Okay, you got 2 and 12, and then you have 6 cherries here.
Over x, because we don't know how many grapes there are.
Good, okay.
Cross multiply.
Cross multiply, so you have
2x over equals 72, which even divide 72 by 2 is 36.
That's right. Cross multiply works. You could also have just said, what's the common factor? 2 times 3, 3 times 12, and they both work. Both methods work. Both of them work. Okay, so I'm not saying there's one right way versus the other. Let's go to 12. Keon, you want to read that for us?
A student is being selected randomly from a class of 14 boys and 21.
Can you do it without laughing? Can you do it?
Yes.
Otherwise,
21 girls for a trip to the United Nations. What is the probability that a girl will be picked from the class? I didn't see, because if you add the total amount of boys and girls, you get 35 total people, students. And then, there are 21 girls, so that would be 21 over 35, which can be reduced to 3.
That's correct. Okay, so that is exactly what they're asking. Probability that as a girl will be selected out of the total. So girls over total is 21 over 35 is 3/5. Good job on that one. Okay. Any questions on this? Are we going at a pace that's okay? Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue here. So
Are we gonna have homework done?
yes, you will. So we're going to talk about some algebra here. We're going to talk about substitution. And we're a lot of you guys are either in pre-algebra or algebra or something like that, right? Let's talk about this. Let me have Azalea read number 1 for us.
If m equals 2 into n equals 34, what is the value of n?
So what do we do with this information? What can we do with this information? Who wants to volunteer by raising their hand? Andrew? Multiply what?
2m by 2m in parentheses and 2m.
You could do that. There's something else we could do before we multiply. He's actually wanting to distribute right away. I don't want to do that right away. Can we do something else before we distribute?
You look at the problem, you think about it. Then.
We're doing that already. Okay, so anybody else here? Anybody else? Volunteers. How about this? They gave us a piece of information in the very beginning that's very helpful to us. M equals 2.
Oh, yeah.
So how many of you guys have learned substitution? See a show of hands. Some of us have, okay? The point of this is let's insert the 2 for every time we see the variable m. That's what we're going to do. So this is going to be 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Okay, so now that we have this, can we clean this up a little bit? What's it gonna be now that I've substituted? Andrew, you want to take us from this one?
So you have to multiply 2 by the parentheses. Well, m which is 4 times 2 and the other part.
This is 4. This is
4. And then you have to distribute it, and it's 16 minus 12 and equals to.
okay. So the next step after we've multiplied this, what Andrew gave us is he wants us to distribute the 4 into the parentheses. So that's what he did. So Andrew, when you distributed, what happened?
You multiply that, it's 16 minus 12
Good.
equals 34. And then
Next step. Does everyone see that?
I'm like confused. Oh, wait, okay.
What should we do next? Go ahead, Andrew.
you have to make that negative, well, that 12 minus 12 and into like, so you can divide it from the.
I wouldn't do division. Somebody else. Let's hear from
I just do.
Adam.
Do we subtract 16 from 34?
Correct. You want to subtract the 16.
And then you divide.
Let's subtract first. That gets rid of the 16 on this side. 34 minus 16, Adam. So now you have 18 on this side. You have negative 12. And what's the last step?
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to write it up here. So you divide both sides. You get n is equal to 18 divided by negative 12. Is that the answer?
No.
What can we do here?
Simplify.
Simplify. Thank you. What do we do?
You divide the common LCM.
LCM?
Which would
Not LCM. Not LCM. LCF. It's just common factor, actually. Not LCM. Yeah, not LCM. We're looking for a common factor. What's the common factor of the numerator and the denominator? They're both divisible by 6. So if you divide both by 6,
get negative 3 times.
That's the right answer there. -3/2. Okay? So a couple things to take away from this. One, use the information they gave you, substitute it in there, then do the distribution. Then we're basically isolating the variable. One thing I'm going to mention about isolating variables that's very different. We spent the first half of this talking about PEMDAS. When you're doing isolation of a variable, the third step, we're actually doing a reverse of PEMDAS. We saw addition here, instead we subtracted. Usually subtraction is the very last thing you're going to do, but it's the first thing we did here. So we did that. Then we saw this as -12 times n equals 18. We're doing the reverse of what we see. This is multiplication. -12 times n. The opposite is division. So by dividing both sides, you get 18 over -12, then you reduce. How many of you guys have heard of SAD-MEP? It's the reverse of PEMDAS. I know it sounds like, oh, SAD-MEP, but it's not really that. What it is when you're isolating a variable, you're doing the reverse of PEMDAS. Okay? That's just important to know. When isolating a variable, you do SAD-MEP. Okay? Let's all cry now. What? Okay. All right. This is going to be a little weird here. This is problems that introduce a formula, and they use symbols and words that are not part of math. So let's go with Stella. Can you read number 2 for us?
In order to work a number, you must perform the following 3 steps. Step 1, multiply the number by 5. Step 2, add 11 to the result. Step 3, add the result of step 2 to the original number. Okay.
Is there such a thing in math called quark?
No.
There's no such thing.
You just made it up to be like, okay, so it's quark the thing.
Yeah.
Do the thing.
They're trying to make it seem weird to us. Quark is actually a term in physics, so it has nothing to do with it. So, but they give us 3 steps. What we want to do is follow those 3 steps when we quark 3. So if we're going to quark 3, what's the first thing we're going to do?
3 times 5.
Okay. So we multiply by 5. That's the first step. We get what?
15.
We got 15 on that. So what's step 2?
Add 11.
2.
15.
15. So 1 plus 15, we get
26.
26. And then step 3,
26
Add
plus
it to the original number.
which is
29.
so it's 29. Wow. So really, it's not that hard as long as you follow the steps. And they just throw a weird word there, and you're like, I never heard of the word quark. That's weird. But just keep going and follow the steps. That's really the emphasis of that. They get a little bit harder when they use symbols here. So let's take a look at this one. Let's have Ava read this one for us. Read the question 3 and 4 part for us.
Questions 3 through 4 refer to the following definitions. For all real numbers, x and y, let x number y be defined by the equation x number y equals x plus 1 times y minus 1.
Okay, good. So she just read it to us. They introduced a formula, which we know that this number sign doesn't mean this in everyday use, right? The number sign is used usually because you're saying the number on a list, or you're saying at the end of the call, press the pound sign, or some people who use Twitter like hashtag, right? So these are not the everyday uses of it, right? They give us a question here, 0, number sign, 3, or pound 6, right? So that's what they're asking.
What?
That's their question here.
I am.
So how do we do this pound symbol or hashtag question? What do we do first? Since they just introduced this, we're going to follow the rules of PEMDAS. And so we're going to start inside the parentheses rather than outside, right? So if we start inside the parentheses, could we identify one of the numbers as x, one of the numbers as x, one of the numbers as y? What's that, Adam? Well, which one is X, which one is Y? What do you guys think?
Six is Y.
So Andrew, say it again.
6 is Y. 3 is
Oh, I see.
3 is X. So let's treat this as your X
Oh, wait.
and Y. Okay, so let's actually do the math here. So this is going to be 3 plus 1, 6 minus 1. You guys see how we're doing this substitution method back into this, okay? So when we do this calculation, what do we get for 3 pound 6? Or 3?
9.
You get 9?
Wait, don't you multiply?
This is 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4.
Yeah.
This is 6 minus 1, which is equal to 5.
20, yeah. Yeah.
So is that the final answer?
No.
No. What do we do with it?
You.
Okay. We don't multiply by 0. We use it again because our original question was 0 pound parentheses. So this is 0 pound 20. Okay, so we put it back into the original equation. So we got to do it again. We do this hashtag formula again. So now you have 0 plus 1, 20 minus 1. Does everyone see this? This is now the X.
Well, I see it, but I
And
don't
this
know
is
if I
the
can
Y.
like do that on a question.
Is-
Yeah, it's not 19. It's only 18.
There should be 19 on there. There should be, well, you know what? That might be a typo on there, but the answer equals 19. So it is 19. Just write it in. But the more important thing, guys, the most important thing is, does everyone see how we have to follow the steps of this formula
Yeah.
and apply it to things that we're familiar with? PEMDAS, we did the parentheses first, and also substitution. Bunch of people doing hashtags here. They're cops.
No, did you just?
They're doing it, not hashtags, they're doing
No.
dash.
My other arm is down.
Okay.
Not down.
Okay, so let's go back to this real quick. Does everyone see how this symbol problem works? Okay. All right. We just had Ava read this 8 out. Can you read number 4?
In class, hashtag A equals A, hashtag is what is the value of A.
So now we have this hashtag on both sides of the equation. How do you guys feel about this?
Confused.
No reason to be scared about this. We're just going to follow the same steps. The formula, the steps are from the same formula, where X hashtag Y is equal to X plus 1 times Y minus 1. I'll write it here. So we're going to use that in both sides of this equation.
Okay.
So now this is going to be, this is your X, this is your Y. You see that?
So A is.
So you're going to do it twice. I'm going to erase this and put it over.
Oh, I get this now.
Why is it minus?
Because you need to make it even.
Oh, because Y is.
3 minus 1. A minus 1.
So everyone work on it for a second. Work on it on
I don't know
paper.
what to
Write it out.
I know now.
So this is going to be 5 plus 1, and this is going to be A minus 1. Does everyone see that?
No.
That's the formula. Keon, you need to look at the.
That was the other problem.
It's for questions
So-
3 and 4. Oh, I see that O on your face right now. Questions 3 and
Oh.
now he says it. Okay, everyone, set them up. Set them up.
A2.
So.
Hold on. Let's finish these.
Wait, this is stuff that's gonna be in the SBAC.
It'll be on. Wait, is this gonna be on SBAC?
Yeah, something like this.
This is on SBAC, I thought.
Okay.
It was being in 7th grade, that's right.
Oh, and it's.
If they give you a hard problem, it'll look like this. This is
Okay.
considered a hard problem. let's walk through this. Let me,
I'm like,
let's not hear all these reactions. Let's just walk through this together. This is 5 plus 1, which is obviously 6. This is a minus 1. This is a plus 1. This is 2. Now we do the distribution method. This is multiplied, multiplied. This is multiplied, multiplied. So 6 times A is 6A. 6 times -1 is -6. This is 2 times A. On this side is 2A. 2 times 1 is 2. Do you guys see this? Now we're doing sad mep. We're doing sad mep. You see the subtraction? You do the opposite. You add 6. You add 6. You add these two together, it's 0. This is
Where did the 6 come from?
2A equals, I'm sorry, this is 6A. This is 2A. Okay? What you're doing is you're moving the 6 over. But the only way you can move it over is by adding 6 and adding 6. Can you see this here?
So 6A minus 2A
Where-
equals 4A.
And then we subtract the 2A on the right and the left. So we're still doing sad mep here. We did our subtraction. We did addition and subtraction. Now you have 4A equals 8. The only way to isolate that A is
Division.
division. So you divide by 4. You divide by 4. This is 4. 8, 2. That is the answer. And that, so the answer is 2. You should be writing this down. If this wasn't something you came up with, I know Andrew screamed out the number, but what I'm trying to say is this is.
I just guessed.
I know he was just guessing there, so at least he admitted that. The point that I'm trying to get to here
I'm not
is
sure that.
this is a hard problem. They introduce a strange, unfamiliar formula. They use a symbol that we don't use for math, and then they force us to apply this right away. What I'm reinforcing is you guys have learned substitution. You guys have learned distribution. You guys know PEMDAS and how to isolate a variable. I call it sad map because you're just doing the opposite of it. You're doing the opposite of PEMDAS when you isolate a variable. Okay? Any questions on that? That was a hard problem. Yes.
Wait, on like the test, did they make you show your work?
No.
Oh,
You
you don't?
just click.
Okay.
You're just clicking. That's all you're doing.
Just guessing.
Yeah,
Anyone
and then
who's
hopefully
told
get it
us
right.
the bathroom should-
I was guessing every answer.
That's part I
Only like
Okay.
2 questions.
Let's
Probably get better.
We've only got a few minutes, guys, so I know you guys are starting to get all restless, but we only have a few minutes and a few problems that we can get through. So real quickly, number 5 here, this is a straightforward one. Ada, can you read that for us? Yeah, just go ahead and read number 5.
N plus 2N.
So what is happening in this problem here? This is adding variables. How many of you guys have learned to add variables? Have you guys learned to add variables?
And
When you add variables,
4N,
you should be adding
which would
only if they have the same variable. If it's x and n, you can't add them together. Okay.
X.
So these are all n's. What is the number? Is there a number that we can use to add here?
Oh, what?
How many of you guys have heard of the phrase coefficient?
Yeah.
I have
Coefficient.
no idea what
Is it the number?
Andrew, what is it?
Is it the number before the variable?
That is correct. So what are the coefficients that we have here?
2.
Just 2?
Yes.
There's
Just
actually
an addition.
coefficients in front of n. What are they?
Nothing.
1. Caitlin said that, or I
Oh, yeah,
heard.
because N.
So these are ones here.
Oh, yeah.
So when we add this together, the 1, the 2, and the 1 add up. So this equals
4N, right?
N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So that answer is 4n because the coefficient. So if you're not familiar with it, Keon, please. All right. So the key thing here is coefficients are the numbers in front. And when you are adding them together, you add the coefficients. If this was a multiplication problem, I'm just going to show you, even though it's not on your page. If this was n times 2n times n, you would multiply the coefficients here. So the answer to this would equal 1 times 2 times 1, which is equal to 2. But what happens with the exponents here? You guys know what the exponents are on this? The n has an exponent. What's the exponent to n?
1.
It's 1 to the first power. N to the first power, n to the first power. This actually gets added up, so it's n to the third power.
What?
8n.
So
Is that only for multiplication?
yes. So what Haley just mentioned, everyone didn't hear that. This is only true for multiplication. For addition, this is just 4n. Okay. If this is something you don't remember, I would write both of these down so that you can remember the difference between adding variables versus multiplying variables. Okay? Does everyone see that?
No.
The answer here is 4n is the answer, but this is an example. An example to show you if this was multiplication, you would get a different answer. Do you guys remember this? These are rules of dealing with variables and exponents. So this is some new stuff for you. Okay? Okay, this is what I want to do to speed it up a little bit because we got a lot of stuff to cover. I want you guys to do 6 through 8 really quickly. We'll go over them.
Already done.
Okay, well, don't say anything, Andrew. Don't say anything if you're done. Okay, don't reveal what you got. Don't reveal, don't reveal. Let people work.
It is 24. I don't.
What is this considered as a coefficient?
I did. I graduated.
Oh.
Those are hard.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, we'll talk about those a little bit later, but let's keep working. If you guys are talking, you're obviously not working on stuff.
Oh my God.
Okay, just work on it, just work on it. Let's not have big conversations here.
And we will have holiday.
So,
Okay, guys, let's not have conversations. Okay, how many people are still working on these three? Still working on it? Okay. Let's talk about these because we're running up against the clock here. Before I explain these, I will tell you that there is homework, and it starts on pages 28 through 60.
What?
Don't feel alarmed. Okay, don't feel alarmed. It's the reason why it's so long is because the exercises, it's all these ones that look sideways. There's only one question. There's only one question per page. So it's really only like 33
I
problems.
see one.
So don't feel like, oh my goodness, 30 pages of questions. It's not a lot.
Where's one?
You can do them.
Wait, what do you mean one problem? I
It's
see one.
whenever when it starts to look sideways.
That's when that, and then,
I don't have,
You have it. You have it.
wait, this is like the
You
rest of
see
the
it.
book.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna hand you pamphlets every.
Oh, wait, this is
Packet.
one page of
How much do you
Yeah.
so it's from here,
Extract lesson
wait, is it from here to the end of the book?
Okay, back to this.
Okay.
Oh my, I'm
Question,
gonna take a week.
guys, okay,
I would turn that,
Wait,
like, I'm not gonna be home at all.
It's just.
all the side pages, yeah, that's it, that's it. Yeah, those are
29.
yours.
So it's from here to like, right.
All the sideways pages. Slow down, guys. Let me have your all's attention for just a few more minutes. Let me go over 6, 7, and 8 really quickly. For number 6, the answer should be 210. Let's stay on page 21 here. It should be 210. The answer is C. Does anybody need me to review that one? 210?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did not.
So this is 2.1 equals n over 100. The only way to clear the denominator and isolate the variables is to do the opposite of what you see. This is division. So multiplication. 100, and you do 100. So this is, like I said, sad math. You do the opposite. These two cancel out. This is n. This is 210. That's it. 100 times
Okay.
equals 210.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, for number 7 here, this is, the answer for number 7 is 2. This is A. Does anybody need me to explain number 7? The answer is 2. A. Did everybody get that? The reason why is 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2 equals 16. Okay. Number 8 here is this one. This one here is B. But did everyone get that? Answer?
I didn't get it.
Okay,
Or
let
like,
me write
I
this
just
one
didn't
out
do
here.
the problem, cause I didn't even.
Let me write this one.
Yeah, same. Wait,
1/3.
the only one I do is second.
Slow down, guys. So this is 1/3 times x equals 8. The way you clear the denominator here is do the opposite of what you see. This is 1/3. So the opposite of 1/3 is 3. Multiply both sides by 3.
Yeah. I didn't.
X is equal to 24.
Yeah.
You use this x and you put it in the second part of the equation. 1/4 times x.
Yeah.
So your answer is 6. So this is what I'm going to do here. We only have like 2 minutes left here, and we are coming down to a close. I want to emphasize one thing here, because we're going to continue math, even though the next time we have is ELA, reading and stuff. That stuff is easier to go through, so I'm going to continue with the math on page 22 and next time. So bring your notebooks here, because these notebooks are going to be the things that we use every time. Don't come without it, all right? You must bring this notebook next time.
This is like almost.
Yeah.
How about that means we're gonna get.
More next week. So that's
It's not like we finish a whole book every week.
packet every week. Yep. All right, guys.
Yeah, we.